There's an old story that has many different versions. This is just one version of it here. The king of India, who loved to play chess, and he had a sage that he challenged to a chess game one day, and he was so confident of his skills that he told the sage if he won, he could have anything he could name in the kingdom. Well, the sage played chess with the king and won. So when the king asked him what he would like to have, he said, "I only want a grain of rice put on one square of the chessboard, and then for each square on the chessboard, double it." Well, the king thought that sounded reasonable, such a small price to pay. So he tried to do that. Well, it turns out on the 20th square, the king would have up to 1,000,000 grains of rice. On the 40th square, 1,000,000,000 grains of rice. And by the 64th square would have 18, whatever this number is, grains of rice, about 210 billion tons of rice, more than they had in the entire kingdom, by the way, and the sage became the richest man in the world. Thus it is with IP addresses. Every bit that you add to the size of an IP address, you double the size of the number. Or the previous number, I should say. Now, IP version 4 has 32 bits. IP version 6 has 128 bits. If you have 4 billion addresses with an IP version 4 address, when you double it, that is to say, when you add a 33rd bit, you double that to 8 billion. The 34th bit, you would have 16 billion, and so on. So you can see by the time you get to 128 bits, you have a pretty big number. As a matter of fact, that number turns out to be over 340 undecillion addresses. This square, when my Word document is at 100% zoom, is 1.6 inches. If this 1.6 inch square represented all of the IP version 4 addresses that are possible, then the size of the IPv6 address space would be the size of the solar system. If you gave an IPv6 address to every atom on the surface of the Earth, you could fill 100 Earths worth of IPv6 addresses. Now, we talked today about giving every light bulb an IPv6 address. Even if we did that, the number is so horrendously large that we would never run out of addresses. We can certainly give every light bulb, every shoe, imagine any smart device you can think of. If certainly you can give an IPv6 address to every atom on the surface of the Earth, then there are not enough items on the Earth to fill up all the IPv6 addresses that are possible. Every human on the Earth could have 50 octillion addresses, and we still wouldn't run out of IPv6 addresses. Now, one important note is that these numbers I've been giving you are based on the mythological idea that we have all of the addresses in the IPv6 address space available to us to give to devices. And that's simply not true. As a matter of fact, it turns out that the first 64 bits of that 128 bits are reserved as network addresses, and then individual addresses, only the last half of the IPv6 address. So we just simply can't give away all of them as end device addresses. However, even with that, the number is so staggeringly large that we will not run out of IPv6 addresses anytime in the foreseeable future, or even the future that we can imagine. And even if we do get that far, by that point the technology will have gotten so old that we will probably be on to something else entirely. So there's really nothing that we have to worry about for several lifetimes yet.